Hey, can you guys see me or hear me? And Ross and we were having some technical issue. We technically went live, but we had no idea. I had no idea where we went live. And let me double check again, because I did receive a few messages from you guys asking me, where are you? Technology and live streaming. And trust me, I have been live streaming for a year. I never experienced this before. Oh my goodness. Okay. Queen is here. Thank you so much. And hey Jim. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I also got a comment from Stella. And I hope she can find us. She's from London. She's staying up late to watch our show. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm so sorry, guys. And that's part of the live streaming deal, right? You never know what's going to happen. I went live earlier to somewhere I didn't even know. Anyway, I introduced Ross, but I want to introduce him again. Oh, thank you so much, Natasha. If you guys can let us know where you are joining us from, that will be greatly appreciated. And hey, Dorothy, thank you so much for being here. And Ross is my guest of honor today, and we are discussing how to leverage live streaming to grow one's community, to expand one's business, and to monetize one's live streaming content and to generate leads. And many of you are probably already familiar with Ross. Just in case you don't know this amazing guy, I just want to do a quick introduction so that we can get started on my list of questions. He's a top live streaming expert and host and strategist. And he's a live video content creator, a podcaster, and the founder of a live stream universe, where he coaches people how to leverage live streaming to grow one's audience and one's community and one's brand. And if you don't mind sharing this show with your audience, with your community, that will be greatly appreciated. And please feel free to ask any questions you have regarding live streaming, and we are going to answer all of your questions. And sorry again about the technical issues. And hey, Jim, congratulations again on your marriage. And we are very, very, very happy for you. I'm just going to get started with my questions here. Hey, Natasha. So, Ross, how did you get started and on your live streaming journey and Facebook Live? Oh, seems like. Oh, oh my God, this is so meta. Guess what? He's frozen. Oh my God.
All right. So I think I'm back.
I'm seeing two Ross on my screen.
Uh-oh. So can you drop the one where I'm moving down?
I'm going to drop. Whoa, that's... Oh, hey, Suzanne. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, I just asked you one question. How did you get started? How did you get started on this live streaming journey, Ross? If you can share with us. And how long have you been live streaming? And how has live streaming helped your business? Yes.
Well, it looked like my twin brother was on for a few minutes with me at the same time.
I know. It was so scary. Today's the day that we have...
Well, it's all good now. I'm not touching anything on my computer. And here we go.
Don't touch it.
Yeah. So thanks for having me on so much. And thanks for that nice introduction. So my background was in radio. I worked in radio for 12 years on air. And then I went into human resources and was doing, working in business. And in 2015, in the fall, I came across a site called Blab. I had no idea what it was. And when I clicked into it, it looked like I fell into talk radio heaven, but with webcams. I thought it was the coolest thing, seeing all these people I knew from social media who were doing their own shows and having conversations. And really, there was some pretty good stuff on there. And I just fell in love with it. And I fell in love with broadcasting again. And within a month, I was just really going to just share what other people were doing and enjoy watching. But within a month, I had to start hosting my own show. And I've done a few broadcasts since then.
That's
So
amazing.
that's how I got started.
Yeah, actually, I also kind of started with Blab. That was a few years ago when Blab just came out. I was like, wow, this is like so awesome. How many of you in the live audience were also early adopters of the Blab platform? And let us know in the comment section.
Blab really built a great community. I mean, there really was a great community. I don't know if Blab built it or we built it or a combination, but it just really had a nice community about it. And so many of the people that I now know and spend time with online and even offline, that connection was made through Blab, through
Yeah, it's
being in,
definitely,
being in the
yeah,
same shows, going on each other's shows as guests and hosts and co-hosting shows and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, the same principles kind of still come into play in what makes for a good broadcast, whether it's on Blab, whether it's on Facebook Live, whether it's on radio or TV, or the principles are basically the same, but people have changed in how they approach it as well, with different platforms and as people who maybe started their journey with
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
Periscope or
yeah,
Mir
absolutely.
now, develop more experience and gotten more focus around the kind of content that they want to create.
Yeah, yeah. I love this comment from Stella. This is her first time hearing Blab. Don't feel bad. I'm sure many people in the audience also their first time, but it is kind of also my first time experiencing live streaming. It's like a virtual conference. Yeah. So clearly, and also I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who is here and thank you so much for being so patient with us. Hey Jim, hey Suzanne, Dorothy, Elizabeth, Gary, and Bill, my student. Thank you so much, Natasha, Christine. Oh my goodness, my friends, Suzanne. Thank you so much, everyone. Elizabeth, for being here. I appreciate you guys. So clearly, you have been on this live streaming journey for quite a few years, Ross. So can you please share with us what are some practices of live streaming that you kind of stopped doing over the past several years, and what are some new practices like strategies or tactics that you start practicing as a result of the changes in the digital space?
Well, I think, like I said before, I think the principles of what makes for a good show, what makes for good communication, what makes for good interactivity, what makes something entertaining, that all is pretty consistent over time. And that doesn't really change with what platform you use or how the technology changes. But some of the things that have changed is when we started on Blab, I mean, Twitter was a much bigger factor in driving engagement and driving people to platforms. When it comes to promotion now, a lot of it goes on with live streams on other platforms, with stories, particularly Instagram stories, and sharing those over to Facebook stories as well. So I think a lot of the promotion has moved to, at least a lot of what I do has moved to Instagram. I still use Twitter, but Twitter was, there would often be a conversation going on Twitter simultaneously with a broadcast. I don't think that is necessarily the case anymore. A lot of the promotion has moved over. Also, the platforms have changed. Periscope and Meerkat were very much the mobile phone, and it was one to many. And then Blab provided the ability for a time to have multiple people on camera. But I think with the platforms now, there's a whole nother level of sort of professionalism that you can do shows from your laptop or desktop computer, such as we're doing here. With the technology advancing, there's more of an expectation that you'll put comments on the screen, or you'll put lower thirds on the screen, and titles and text, and even share your screen perhaps during a time with a photo or something like things that really didn't come up all that much 3 years ago. It was really just getting on and doing and your message. And well, I think the basics again are still the same, right? You can go live with your mobile phone and you can have pretty good sound and pretty good video. In fact, you can have very good of both, right? and you can buy certain accessories. But in general, I think those who've stuck with it, and a lot of people have dropped off along the way, but those who've stuck with it naturally improve over time, but also have made some decisions, whether it's using a platform like Be Live or getting Wirecast or learning OBS or vMix or some of the other different, using Zoom. People use all these different third-party platforms now, which just allow them another level of professionalism in how they communicate their message and how their broadcast comes across. And I think that's very important on a platform like Facebook, where there's a lot of distractions. When we watched Blabs, there was no distraction other than another blab. And so you jump into a blab, you might jump into another one, you might come back.
True.
A long time. In Facebook, there's so many distractions, notifications, messages, all sorts of things. You have to think of your audience not necessarily as there for the full hour, but as people who come and go. And so it makes it a lot like a live radio show where you're trying to keep people involved and engaged, and sort of tease what's coming up, talk about what's gone on before. And, promotion within the show becomes probably more important, or as important as promotion leading up to the show was years ago.
Yeah. Oh, those are so many great points. And speaking of Facebook, I love how Facebook is always updating the platform. Like nowadays, I just create an event page for my Facebook Live, and sometimes I put a few dollars behind my event to do a Facebook ad, and can really definitely help gain some more additional publicity and exposure. And also, I love how many of you in the audience who are joining us live have your own Facebook live show or other type of live show. And share your answer in the comment section. And I want to tailor our questions to your needs. So here's one question from Dorothy. And she's asking, what are the advantages of live streaming compared to video?
Oh, that's a great question. I think some of the advantages of live streaming are, one is the time factor. Creating video often takes longer because when you're live, you're live. There's no editing, there's no cuts. Of course, you can go back and make some changes, in the recorded video after you're done live streaming. But in general, you're creating your content in real time. So if your show's an hour, you're basically spending an hour creating content. Whereas when you do a produced video, there's the tendency to do a retake and a redo and add an intro and add an outro and add some other effects afterwards. And I think it sharpens your skills doing live streaming as far as any type of public speaking or public interaction at work or in front of people. But I think the biggest advantage of it is the live chat and the ability to have that real time engagement with people, the ability to answer their questions, which may be different and even sometimes or oftentimes better than the question I might have thought about asking. And people bring their own knowledge. And there's an energy level about it that makes it hard to sort of go back to doing this type of a show in a recorded format. There are certain types of short-term or artistic types of videos that are definitely better doing them as a produced recorded video. But in terms of the real-time interactivity, you can't beat that through live streaming. It's the closest thing to being with people in person. The other advantage comes in even when you repurpose it. When people can tell that something was done live, they sense that you're being you're reacting in real time to questions. They see how you handle situations that come up. I think they get a better sense of sort of your personality, what it would be like to work with you, to talk with you. And I think they get a better sense of your knowledge, your expertise, as well, again, as your personality and how you handle people in real situations, because it's real. And whatever happens, technology, something happens, whatever, how do you respond to it? How do you respond when somebody asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, or, challenges you on something or needs help with something? My answers, you can tell, are coming right off the top of my head. I'm not going to look it up and in the textbook, or I'm not bringing up Wikipedia
Absolutely.
or something and saying, let me put together the best, whatever I'm saying. So you get to know who I am and how I handle a situation. And I think that's the advantage for anybody who wants to live stream, is that people see you, it's real, it's live.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
you take advantage of the fear of missing out, because people see, oh, you're live. Okay, let's check that out. And that, before I wrap up this one question, let me just add that that's something for me that's changed, is that my shows were always scheduled. And while
Mhm.
I still have scheduled shows, I now do this type of broadcast
Mhm.
sometimes spontaneously as a pop-up, where
Mhm.
I go live by
Mhm.
myself and then just invite somebody in from the audience who I think
Yeah.
can
Oh.
to what the topic is. And I think that's changed because I see an advantage of taking advantage of the unpredictability and the fear of
Absolutely.
missing out. Oh,
Absolutely.
Ross is not like, if everything's always scheduled, there's the idea, oh, I can catch the replay or I can get it next time. But when you go live
Such a good point.
spontaneously and you catch people by surprise, they wonder what's going on. Why did you go live? What am I missing out on? Maybe I should jump in now because I don't know when I'll get another chance to talk to that person. So I've gone from scheduling once or twice a week to scheduling one big show with 4 guests each month, and then doing some more spontaneous stuff in between. And I think stories and Instagram Live have sort of changed that idea as well, because they're very spontaneous and in the moment.
Yeah. Oh my God. So many amazing points. You are just rocking it. And I saw lots of great comments from the audience. And every single point you mentioned just resonated with me so much. Like nowadays, I watch so many live streaming shows. It is so strange when I listen to a podcast. And sometimes I feel like I wanted to chat with the person. Can I
Right.
enter a comment? Can I ask this person a question? It feels so different from an interactive Facebook live show where you are actually co-creating. Like right now, my amazing audience join us in the live show, and us, we are actually co-creating the content. I love this. It is so different from listening to a podcast where everything is being controlled and predetermined. You don't have this level of interaction. Yeah, this is great. And keep the questions coming. I'm going to uh, get started with my next question. So actually, one of my I have so many students join
Oh,
me here. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. I have been encouraging them to start their own Facebook live show. Hey guys, Lisa, I'm not lying to you, right? This is the power. And so one of my question is kind of, have you walked us through the process of launching a Facebook live show before the show happens? Like, for example, the question a queen was asking here, how do you even discover what to talk about? That's kind of before the show. How do you promote the show? And when the show is happening, how do you boost the audience engagement? And after the show is over, how do you repurpose content? So we can discuss one section by one section. So now let's talk about before the show happens. Like, how do you discover a topic? I know many of you guys who join us live do not have a live show yet and are thinking about having one. So for this group of people, what are some of your recommendations, Ross?
So, in general, you have a theme for your show, whether the theme is a topic. Like my shows are generally about live streaming, so I'm live streaming about live streaming, and then my guests are people who live stream. So, if that's like a weekly interview show, then the topic is going to be based around what that guest does or they're known for. Does that guest have a book? Let's talk about their book. Do they have what kind of business do they have? How are they using live streaming in their business? If it's a show about your something related to your business or your subject matter expertise, that's the kind of overarching theme, and then you choose topics within that, subjects within that, based on what you're interested in talking about, what you're knowledgeable about, also what's happening in the industry. Is there some news that you want to comment on or weigh in on? Is there a guest in that industry that it would be good to have on, that your viewers and your listeners would enjoy? And so that's kind of how you have a general idea of what it is. You have a general theme for your show, and then within that theme, you pick out the topics that you think are most interesting to you and to your audience. Because if they're not interesting to you, then the show won't be interesting for your audience, because you won't feel inspired or to learn about it or to talk about it. That passion won't be there. I would almost rather somebody talk about something that they're interested in and the audience might not know as much about, than talk about something you think the audience wants to hear if you either don't know about it or aren't interested in talking about it. Because I think people show up as, I heard somebody say this, and they said, people show up for the person behind the mic or whatever. And that's really true. They show up because they like the host and the way the host communicates and shares information and engages with the chat and other individuals live. So that's probably the most important thing. Even more important than your subject matter is, but I would say if you've never live streamed, just to address the question that your student had asked, if you'd never live stream, I'd say first go live a few times on your personal profile and talk about whatever it is you're passionate about, whatever it is you like to talk about, and maybe script your first couple of lines, how you're going to open and introduce yourself. And then I would also script maybe how you're going to close the show. Just the last thing, even if it's just your name and thanks for joining us or whatever, or see you again soon, whatever it is, so that your beginning and your ending are fairly smooth, because those are the roughest areas, even for people who've done tons of shows. How do we start? And so get that out of the way. And then if you talk in between that about something that you're knowledgeable and passionate about, I think it'll all come together fine. And then after you do 3 or 4 or 5 of those, and you're familiar with the technology enough to know, okay, I'm live, I know what button to click, I don't have to be so concerned if I pause for a second or I forget what I was going to say. I can see that I recover quickly and all that. Then you can move over to creating a business page or using your business page and going live there, and then, or your personal brand page, whatever you want to call it, your public figure page. And then you can start talking about what it is you want to be known for or what your business is, and think more in terms of, is this something you want to monetize in terms of driving traffic to a website or to a business where people will want to work with you and that kind of thing. So I think start out on your personal profile, get a little experience, 3 or 4 live streams, maybe 10, maybe 2. You'll know when you've hit a point where you feel really comfortable with it. Then move over to your business profile, because then you'll get those first few bad ones out of the way on where they're not judged as harshly.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't start on Facebook Live right away. I started with Blab, and then I was a very heavy Snapchat user for almost 2 years, consistently just talking to my phone. I really got myself comfortable. And then later I moved to this more public space. I love this comment from my dear friend Natasha, and she's talking about, when you are listening to podcasts, it's mainly a one way, but like Facebook live show, it is much more interactive, and the live audience has a voice in the content. So I think that's also what I love the most about running a Facebook live show. Yeah. And we also have Krista joining us, and Chris Straub. Oh, thank you so much, everyone. And Melissa, Lucille. Oh, thank you, everyone. And also I pinned a Be Live link. And if anyone of you wants to join the live video chat with me and Ross, please feel free to click on that link, and you will be brought to the live video chat with us if you feel comfortable. And yes, I love this comment from Stella. It's like a panelist, expert, facilitator. So I really see myself as a facilitator. I also love what you mentioned earlier, Ross, how you have a good balance between scheduled and the spontaneous live streaming sessions. Right now, all of my live streaming is scheduled. So I'm definitely going to try to do a few more spontaneous ones. I really love that idea. So far we discussed. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, so since you have, a very scheduled, I think it's great that you have a time where you go live, you schedule your guests ahead of time, and all that kind of stuff. I would stick with that for this show and keep this a scheduled show at the same time, because it just imprints in people's mind after a while that you go live at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. It's approximately an hour. You have a guest each week. People know where to go and where to find you, and what to expect. And that's an important part of your brand. But maybe you do some spontaneous with your phone where you occasionally go live and
That's right.
Go behind the scenes. This is my setup. This is how I, prepare on Be Live, or this is how I get ready for a class or whatever it is, or just, taking a walk and sharing your thoughts on social media, business or teaching or higher ed, whatever it is that interests you. And mix those in. And I think that's a neat opportunity for people, even though it's a one-to-many, it's where it's really just about you and your relationship with the audience rather than your conversation with a guest and then the audience participates. It's really just sharing yourself with people. So even though it's the one-to-many, it still is a little more personal relationship.
Amen. There's so many great points. I just love it when you mention like my relationship with my audience, which reminded me of what I learned from the Inbound conference. I just came back in Boston, and everyone was talking about relationship marketing, conversational commerce, conversational marketing. I think live streaming is such a great platform to facilitate that, to allow conversational marketing, relationship marketing to happen. And I truly get to know many of my audience, which is really amazing. And thank you for being here, Anne. Such a great pleasure to see you. And much appreciated. So we just discussed what we do kind of before the show. How about during the live show? And, we all know like Facebook is saying that they are trying to promote meaningful conversations, right? You really want to have your guests talk to each other and comment on your post. So what do you do? Any tips and strategies that you can share with us that can encourage like interactions and meaningful conversations among the audience?
Well, a lot of people do the, throw something in the chat if you agree or you disagree or whatever. I don't do as much of that as maybe I should, but I don't know whether that always leads to meaningful conversations or not. What I try and get people to do is ask questions in the chat, because I just love to take questions that I'm not expecting, or what else can we bring into the conversation, or have people share meaningful comments about the discussion that either add to what we're talking about, or maybe they disagree and they take it in a different direction. And so that's a big part of it. And I think some of the people who just show up are just amazing, and they really don't need a lot of prompting to make these contributions.
Yeah, that's right.
But you do have to remember to ask people to contribute, to share their thoughts on something. Sometimes you do need an easy question to break the ice, where you watch.
That's right.
Or, what's your experience level on a scale of 1 to 5 with live streaming or podcasting or whatever it is the topic is. And then the other thing is what you mentioned, bringing people in from the chat to become a part of the conversation. And right on cue,
now, right? So my dear friend Mike, thank you so much for joining us, Mike. And do you have a question regarding live streaming? I really appreciate you.
Yeah, this has been a good session. So thank you for the insight.
Oh, thanks,
you're
Mike.
so welcome. Yeah.
Great to talk to you.
Do you have any specific question you want to ask? I know you have a list of questions, Mike, that you want to ask. Do you want to ask Ross a question, or you just want to say hi to us, which is totally fine?
I was just jumping on to watch on this side because the picture's a little bit clearer on this side. Again, maybe if you could go into just 2 seconds into like some of the technology that you're using, because I can definitely see a difference in the pictures between the two. And I'm also kind of looking at some of your gear. So if you could just give like maybe just a minute of what you're using, that would be helpful to us.
Sure.
Yeah, and definitely also make sure you share the page Ross mentioned.
Oh,
Yeah, I will
okay.
share it.
So I'm using the Logitech C922 webcam, C922X. They also make a C920, which is a little less expensive, and neither one's very expensive. I think the C920 is around $50. I don't even know what the difference is between the one I have and the C920, but lots of people use the C920, and it's just a major improvement over the built-in webcam that comes with your computer. So that's what I'm using for the video. I hardwire rather than use Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi isn't necessarily the best for transporting video. So I use Ethernet connection into an adapter into my computer so that you don't have those issues with Wi-Fi dropping momentarily and all that. Doesn't mean it's always going to be perfect or clear. There's still bandwidth issues, but it's a much better way to stream your video. As far as anything else, it's all, I put all my most of my investment into audio. I'm using the Shure SM7B, which is a dynamic mic, meaning that it rejects a lot of noise that isn't right on top of the mic, versus a condenser mic, which will pick up noise from a distance. So you don't have to sit as close to it. You can have it off the picture, but then it also picks up the traffic 15 floors down or whatever. So I'm a big believer in using dynamic mics, which is what they use in radio. I believe is using the ATR 2100, which is
that's
a very affordable broadcast mic, about $50, $75, and it plugs in USB. Mic like this, you need in mixer interface. I'm using what's called the MixPre 3, which is an audio interface mixer and recorder all in one. It's probably overkill, but it's good in a lot of different situations. But any basic audio interface, if you're using a mic like this, is good. Then that does the conversion, and also it has good preamplifiers for your microphone.
Perfect.
Yeah, I also shared an article, Mike. You can check out the article from Ross where he has listed all of his gears. And so definitely check out that article. And for me, I can definitely tell the quality, my image and Ross and yours, like the three of us, we all have different levels. So yeah, and I'm going to check out the article myself too. Yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, let me just mention real quick. This is also a great mic for live streaming and podcasting. It's much like the one that I has. It's Samson Q2U. They never give me any love, even though I've promoted this mic constantly. This is the mic that I used for like 2 years before I upgraded. And it's USB, so it plugs right into your computer. You don't have to get an interface or mixer, but it also comes with an XLR cable, just like the ATR 2100. So I can plug it into my mixer interface when I go out on the road, or if I have a guest or whatever. And it actually comes with this foam filter, so it's really a nice microphone for the price.
Yeah.
It's I mean, you can get the right microphone for broadcasting in this style without spending a lot of money.
Too much money, yeah.
You can also, and also this mic and the one I has, if you want to use a boom arm like this, you can get they're so lightweight, you can get a boom arm for like $13-14. I think I have
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I had to upgrade to something stronger, but for one of these things, you can get everything you need for that if you plug it straight in USB for probably under $70
Yeah, this is really great stuff. But I also want to remind everyone, don't feel intimidated by all this stuff. When I started, I didn't have anything. I just did everything through my smartphone. So I think you can do the same. Don't worry if you don't have any of them. Definitely took me some time to have one piece of gear, then another piece, and then slowly, eventually, we will be where Ross is. But you don't get there right away.
And I know you're using your earbuds right now as headphones, but you could use the earbud and really speak into it and use that as a microphone, and that's still going to be superior to the sound that you would get speaking through a webcam or a
Wow, I didn't know that.
So it won't be
is
as good as using the microphone that you have, the ATR 2100, but it isn't bad, and it's a big difference over not using
absolutely
and using whatever is built into your computer or webcam.
computer. Yeah, yeah.
The
This is
microphone-
great. Yeah.
The microphone and camera on a mobile phone are actually pretty good just as they are. I'm charging. That's the only reason. I do use this with microphones, but I've used it without, even at events, and it was still pretty good in the audio.
Yeah. This is great. Yeah, thank you. This is actually one of my questions. So thank you for asking that question on my behalf, Mike. I truly appreciate you. Yeah, this is great. And I'm just going to keep moving forward to respect everyone's time. And we discussed what to do before the show and during the show. And now let's talk about what to do after the show. So I just saw this question from my dear friend Melissa, and she was kind of like, it is so nice to talk to the live audience, and we also need to remember there are people who are going to watch the replay. I saw someone were talking about doing a blog post recap. That's what I do, recaps of my show. So can you please share with us some ways that we can repurpose the live streaming content, and how do you do it, Ross?
Sure. So there's you have to understand that a lot of your views are going to come on replay. In fact, you probably get at least as many and maybe double as many views on replay or more than you got live. So how do you get people to watch the replay? Or one way, obviously, is by sharing it again on Facebook. You can share it to your profile. You can share it to another business page if you have multiple business pages to let people know about your live. You can do other Facebook posts related to it, like you can pull a clip out or take a screenshot and post, and then you have a little bit of a content highlighted from it. I tend to share it across all social media by doing some clips and screenshots. So I will take a screenshot of our conversation and I may put that in an Instagram story. I'll share that to Facebook stories. I may take 2 screenshots and put them together and make an Instagram post out of it. I'll post that on a screenshot or a video clip on Twitter, and then have a link to the Facebook post with the video, with the full video. I will do a blog post and embed the show in the blog post. Then I'll share the blog post, and people can watch the Facebook show right in the blog, and that counts as a view, and they can see the comments, and they can have the whole experience watching it on your website. So there's a number of different ways to promote. You can go back into the chat after a show and answer questions that you didn't get to. Thank people for their questions that you did get to. Continue the conversation, which continues to get new juice into the algorithm, so to speak. There's really an unlimited number of ways to promote after, and I've definitely shifted, I think, in how I look at promotion, where I used to be all in before and then a little bit after. But now I'm realizing that what you do after, because of things like Instagram stories and Instagram video and LinkedIn video, I mean, there's something that a lot of people aren't even thinking about. But the ability to download your video when you're done, or record it locally and take a clip from that video. Could be 30 seconds, could be a minute, could be 10 seconds, could be 2 minutes, and put that video on LinkedIn, put it on YouTube, put it everywhere, and use that to entice people to come back and watch it on your website where the blog post is, or send them to the Facebook post. And then the other thing is, I often record locally right here into this recorder, and then I just put that into my take the card app, put it into my computer, and I have a podcast from it as well.
Oh my God, that's amazing! I
do more work on it, which is what makes it so time consuming, because I'll edit out a few things that maybe don't fit for a podcast, and I'll do an intro and outro. But really, I mean, your show, starting with the way you introduce your guests through the way you say goodbye, that in itself could be a podcast. And so you could either take the video that Facebook records and put that into an editing software, iMovie, ScreenFlow, something like that, and then export it as an MP3 or an M4A, and you have a podcast. Because the audio isn't that great based on what Facebook records, I choose to record it locally into my recorder, or you could record it into your computer if you have enough bandwidth. So those are a couple of ways you can make a podcast out of it, and then you have audio clips to share as well. So one piece of content can go along. One piece of live content can go a long way.
That's such a great point. I think one mistake I made on my social media journey was I'm spending so much time creating the content. And after I finish creating one piece of content, I feel like my job is over. I didn't do anything to promote. And a few months ago, I listened to this podcast interview, I think maybe on Amy Porterfield, and she interviewed a really amazing blogger, and this blogger shared that she has substantially reduced how frequently she's blogging, but increased how much effort that she's putting into promoting her existing blogs. So your point just reminded me of that, and just like so many great ideas. We are just wrapping up here to respect everyone's time, and we didn't really have time to dig into like in terms of monetizing. And maybe you can share one quick example with us, Ross. And I know that you coach people on this. So are there instances or stories where live streaming, like community members or people have successfully generated the leads or businesses or clients through live streaming content you can share with us?
Absolutely. I think what I'll do is I generally talk about 3 paths to monetizing your live stream, and they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, these 3 different aspects are probably part of most good live streams, but one is usually a little more the focus than the other 2. So we all know one thing you can do is you can just get on and you can sell a product. Here's a mouse, buy this mouse. It's great. It's got these features and benefits. So that's one thing that people do. They really are good at selling directly through live video. I wouldn't say that's most of the people. What most people do is they provide value on a live stream. They build relationships, trust, rapport, the know, like, and trust factor, all that kind of stuff, all the cliches that are always thrown around, but it really is something that works when you play the long game, which is you show up, you provide value, you build relationships, you have good conversations, and then when somebody needs the product or service that you have, they think of you because they already have a relationship with you and you're top of mind, and they like what you've put out there and so forth. What I think the third area is, and I think it's the most underrated and it's been by far the most effective for me, is what I call the portfolio method, which is, yes, you give a call to action. Yes, you are about building relationships and providing value, and maybe driving people. You have a funnel and they go to your website and then they sign up for something and whatever. But what it really is I look at what happens when somebody is referred to your business. What happens when somebody says you need help with live streaming, check out Ross, or you need help with social media, check out I. And what do? They Google you. And what do they find? They find your YouTube channel, or they find your blog. And on your blog are your live videos that you've done, or your live videos that you've uploaded to YouTube, or other social media where you have video clips. Maybe you shared some of your video on LinkedIn or what have you. And then they get a sense of what it's like to work with you, what your business philosophy is, what you're like. And I think for people who are solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and small business owners and whatever, converting those warm leads is often more effective when you're trying to measure success, at least on a short-term basis, than either being an in-your-face salesperson or saying, okay, I'm going to build this funnel and the live stream's going to be top of funnel. And then, I'm going to get somebody who's never heard of me and they're going to buy, hundreds of dollars worth of product. But what it really is somebody says, you should work with and then they go Google you. They come across your collection of videos. They watch a few of them. They can tell that they were recorded live because they can tell it was on Facebook Live and it was a live stream. And they get a sense of who you are and what it would be like to work with you and what you know and how you react to people in real time. And they come away with it thinking, wow, I really feel like I know this person and I like this person. And the other couple people that I was suggested that I should look at for whatever service I need, right? I look at them and I say, well, they don't have any videos. So I'm just looking at it black and white on a piece of paper or a color brochure or whatever, but I don't feel like I know them. And so they're not going to be memorable compared to the person who has a live video. And even recorded video is good, or a podcast or recorded audio, whatever. But the more you can show off what you do and do well, just by sort of being you in these online sort of, I call them broadcasting. You can call them, social whatever you want to call it, social broadcasting. It's your chance to really do what otherwise, you would need to meet with somebody in person several times and all that. So I just think that you should think in terms of what is the end result when you're done. Where are you putting that live stream afterwards? Not just so you can get 100 more views or 1,000 more views or get another subscriber to your email list or somebody else to like your Facebook page, but where can somebody go when they actually want to do business with you? And if you're a small business owner, then every client matters, and every new business opportunity could be something that makes a huge difference in your quarterly income and your yearly revenue and all that. So it's worth having that. It's worth finishing the product. Probably more important than worrying about how many people watch it or how many conversations you have online or whatever. That is the ultimate metric is, are you getting more business? Are you growing your business? And I think having that portfolio of online work is probably more important for the small business owner and the solopreneur than is anything else that they could do with social media and social broadcasting.
Wow. This is music to my ears. I love the answer here. This is so good. And I can't wait to rewatch our live streaming show and do a blog recap because I know we are running out of time. For those of you who missed a certain part of the show, you who have to go earlier, please make sure that you stay updated. I will share the blog with you. And before we wrap up here, and I think Lucille missed the part of the Samsung mic that you were recommending earlier. Can you repeat, Ross, or maybe in the comment section later?
Yeah, it's not Samsung, it's Samson, Samson. I don't know if you can, if that helps. It's Q2U. Q, the letter Q, like question, 2, like the number 2, and then U as in USB. So it's Q2U, Samson Q2U. I have a photo of it and a link to it on livestreamuniverse.com/resources, livestreamuniverse.com/resources. And then I recommend other mics as well over there, but that's the one that I used for 2 years. And it's also probably the least expensive, really good mic for live streaming.
Oh, I'm just loving all the feedback and comment from everyone. Thank you so much. So last question, where can people learn more about you? We have seen how awesome you are, how knowledgeable you are, Ross. So where can we discover more about you?
Sure. So livestreamuniverse.com is my website. As I mentioned, I have a resources page. There's also, you can see my past shows and so forth. My other website is Livestream Deals. and my show, that's livestreamdeals.com. And tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, is the next Facebook Live show for Livestream Deals. We're going to have Vid Summit founder and big YouTube influencer Daryl Eves on the show. We're going to have Claudia Barbiero, who's the VP of Marketing for Live U, which makes gear for live streaming. We'll have the co-founder of the DC Podfest conference, and we'll have author and direct sales expert Vicky Fitch. So that's 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern this Thursday night. Tomorrow night, it's our big monthly Facebook Live show, and sometimes our guests bring special offers and giveaways. It's a lot of fun. Would love to see you join us tomorrow night, and that is on the Livestream Universe Facebook page. You can get there by going to rossbrand.live. We'll redirect you to the Facebook page, rossbrand.live, to check that out. Tomorrow night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'm definitely going to check it out. And I will also make sure to share the link. And thank you so much. And this is a great comment from Stella. I totally agree. Quality. I love how Ross is doing monthly live show, really quality, as you can hear, like amazing guest and quality over quantity. And thank you, Ross, again for an amazing interview. And thank you, everyone in the live audience. Without you, my show will not be here. So you guys means so much to me. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much. Next Wednesday, the same time, same location, and we have another amazing guest, and we'll be talking about podcasting. So thank you, Ross, and thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Thanks, Sai.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.